Well, hi again, and it's good to see you again at Distance Kitchen and our third video. Today we're going to make three different things. We're going to make a cheesecake, and we're going to make a cream and spinach soup, and we're going to make macaroni and cheese homemade. So why? Well, because like a lot of you folks, when it seems like the crisis was starting to happen, I ran to the store and I overbought. So I had a lot of dairy products that I need to use before they go out of date. So that's the theme today, dairy products. So first we're going to do several things at the same time, but we're going to get started on our cheesecake. And I do have a mixer that I bought in kind of a cool counter to shove it under and pull it up of. And so if these aren't that much money, they're worth getting. And I'm especially thinking about a friend of mine from Australia right now named Wen. Shout out to Wen. Wen's husband, buy her one of these because these are really cool. So two elements we used for this. There's actually a third one. We won't use the bread dough hook, but this is called a paddle and this is called a whip. I'm going to start with a paddle. So to soften the cheese. So I'm going to soften the cream cheese. Get the whip on, the paddle on here. First, because we are doing all three things at once, which is what you do in the kitchen, in the restaurant kitchen, we've got our water boiling for the macaroni. We've got some buttered, basic unsalted butter. It's melted. We're going to use this for the crust for the cheesecake and also for the other two items as well. We've got a couple of pots ready for the mac and cheese sauce and for the soup. So I'm going to go ahead and actually put the pasta down to get it boiling because it'll take a while we're making the cheesecake. Right? You always do many things at the same time in the kitchen. So I don't have any elbow macaroni, which is traditional. So this is all about using stuff up, folks. I've got some bow ties. Bow tie that pasta. I think it'll be pretty good. So being able to substitute is a really key thing here as we deal with the crisis. So cream cheese. 3 of these, so this is 1.5 pounds of cream cheese altogether. These are 8 ounces each. So I find these packages really irritating to open up, but the best thing I can use is a pair of kitchen shears. Scissors are really cool to have in the kitchen. There's lots of things you can do with them. So we'll get the kitchen shears up there, and we'll open these up, 3 of them all together. I got a head start before you guys came along because I do find it irritating and it takes a while. So I've got these 2 ready to go, and also a couple more cream cheeses. So far we're up to 1.5 pounds of cream cheese, 8, 8, and 8. So I'll get that used up. And hands clean. And then the next thing we put in is some sugar. I'm going to put in a couple of cups of sugar, or as we call it in the restaurant business, white death. It's so good though, especially in these times. You can't have too many sweets. Don't be watching your weight in these times. Everybody should be having a good time eating. All right, so we're going with the cream cheese and the sugar. We're going to go on low with that for a little while, let that go. About 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla, okay, carefully measured like usual. We'll let that go for a little while. Meanwhile, let's get the crust made. So the crust is made out of crushed up graham crackers and sugar and butter and a little bit of cinnamon. So I've crushed a bunch of them up to look like this, but I left a few for you because I wanted to show you how I like to do this. So take 2 at a time. This is my marble cutting board. I recommend marble cutting boards, right, for pastry projects, and my marble rolling pin. You can do it without, but just easier with. You can also do this with a food processor. Wouldn't be a bad way to do it. But I kind of like getting the rolling pin out every now and then. That's another piece of equipment you ought to get. A nice dough scraper. It's useful for lots of things, for cleaning the counter, but it's also good for picking things up like this. So I basically have two of the sleeves of the graham cracker crumbs. So they come about 3 sleeves. These come 3 sleeves to a box. So 2 slaves I find is about the right amount for this recipe. Get that going. And we're going to put about a couple teaspoons of cinnamon in. Again, very carefully measured. A little more white death. Yeah, maybe probably about a 1/4 cup of that. Yeah, maybe 1/3 of a cup. And then some butter. So this is about a pound of butter. We need about a 1/4 pound of it all together. I'll put about a 1/4 of that in there. Then I'll mix it up with my favorite tool, hands. I just find it's easier to mix it properly than with a spoon. So this is pretty much all there is to it. You want to get it so it's already all the way through. I feel like it needs a little more butter. A lot of cooking is like, you know, knowing how food works. So I feel like we need a little more butter there. And I don't actually grease the pan for this because there's a lot of butter in the crust, so it seems to work out. You could use a springform crust and then build up the sides if you want. But I want to show you that you don't need a springform pan. You know, we're using what we have around today, right? So we're using just a common sheet pan. And we take it, we press it in. This is kind of fun. Press it in, make it, even it out. And then what we're going to do after this is we're going to put it in the refrigerator. The reason being, then the butter will set it up and it'll be easier to pour the batter onto it. It only needs to be in there about 10 minutes or so. That's about all we have for it. So I'm going to put that in the refrigerator. Okay, so back to the cheesecake. Off we go. Now they have a lot of these rubber scrapers. Oh my gosh, there's so many things you can do with these. But they're very helpful. So the thing about using a mixer is you want to scrape down the sides every now and then. It's a little hard to see on the film probably, but this cream cheese is starting to get soft. You don't want to add anything else to it until it's soft. That's the kind of great rule of thumb with cream cheese and butter and stuff when you're baking. And I can turn the heat up, speed up a little bit. It's okay to do that if you haven't got eggs in it. You don't want to beat up eggs too long like this. But our goal is to make it soft before we put the eggs in. So again, we've got 2 cups of sugar and a teaspoon and a half or so of vanilla and a pound and a half of cream cheese. So now it's going to be time for us to switch out the paddle. Take the paddle out. Clean off the paddle. Then we're going to go in with the whisk. So the whisk is good, or the whip, you might want to call it, is good for when you're doing eggs. These things are cool because they just stand up on their edge like that, right? You don't have to worry about them falling over and making your counter dirty. So we're going to go in with 4 eggs here, one at a time. Get it kind of low here for now. 1 egg. 2 eggs. Let that mix in a little bit. Alright, 3 eggs. And 4 eggs. Mix up a little bit. You got to scrape down the sides. Scrape down the whisk a little bit. Alright, good to go. The only other thing that goes in this after this is sour cream. Good. One thing with that mixer is if you can do this gently, lift it up a little bit, you can get the bottom. Although if you're not careful, it's going to come up in your face, so don't sue me. Alright, now it's getting pretty smooth, you can see. Nice and smooth. Now we're going to go in with a cup of sour cream. So you really ought to measure when you bake, but I'm more of a cook than a baker, so that's my excuse. I'm sticking with it. Alright, sour cream in there, we're good to go, Eskimo. So the batter's done. Pull that out. Let me get my crust. So admittedly that wasn't 10 full minutes, but it'll work. So I've got the oven on at 325, just so you know. Reheat that oven. And we'll just pour the batter right in. So then I'm going to show you a little trick on trying to get this spread around so that you don't make a mess of the crust. Don't start incorporating it into the cake. You don't really want that. So let's from the inside out, use your rubber scraper. See, I told you these are great tools. I lost a little bit of it there. And then just get up to the edge, ever so gently, and eventually you have all of it incorporated pretty nicely. So this will bake. So if it was a springform pan, it would probably bake for 45 or 50 minutes till it's done. You want to do it so that it wiggles a little bit. I once had a person I worked for that said that it's done when it feels like the inside of your thigh. I don't know if that's true or not. My thighs are probably kind of rough. But so you just want to, I'm very gently trying to pull it across without pulling any of the crust up. The longer you chill that crust, the easier that is to do. All right, so that's ready for the oven. In we go, 325 degrees, and we'll see you later. All right, so next project. First, I think we'll make a little topping for the cheesecake. Doesn't take but a minute. So what you do is you take some fresh fruit. Strawberries, I think, are probably as good as anything. Take them and slice them up. You could use blueberries or blackberries. So the idea is making a syrup. So we're going to make our own syrup. You're not going to believe how easy it is. Slice them up. Put them in a bowl. Add a little sugar, like probably about a tablespoon or two there. And then I add a little lemon, gives it a little zing and helps it work. And then mix them up. Then in about, probably half an hour, you'll have a syrupy mess of strawberries. It makes its own syrup. So you won't have to buy it in the store anymore. All right, so we're going to go, and the other two projects are the soup and the macaroni and cheese. And so these both use something that we call roux. Roux is R-O-U-X, it's a French word. It's a thickening agent, right? So it makes things thick. I've got my pasta bowl in here. Probably should have put a little splash of olive oil in there. That's always fun to do. Flavor and also separates it out a little bit. So basically roux is very simple. It's just butter and flour or some kind of oil and flour. And you cook it for a little while. It's used for, it's classic French cooking. It's used for making sauces like Mornay or bechamel and for thickening soups. we're actually going to make a bechamel that we're going to be using 2 times over. We're going to use it once for the macaroni and cheese, and we're going to use it once for the cream of spinach soup that we're going to make. So I got this butter melted, and you could probably find a recipe that tells you how much flour to put in, but honestly, I just go by how it looks. So it's kind of a slurry thing here. So that's not enough flour there. And we got to get this on a low heat. So a little bit of more flour. It's going to be basically a paste. And so you can start by making the roux and then adding liquid, or you can add the roux to hot liquid. And then just the same way you would do with cornstarch, like we did with another video. And then it magically thickens it up to like a creamy state, which is what you're going to want for the mouthfeel of it. So just about there on the roux. So this has to cook about probably a good 5 or 10 minutes anyway. You don't want to. So if you brown the butter too much, you have brown roux or even black roux. That actually is a thing in some cuisine, such as the New Orleans cuisine. But for a white sauce, we don't want it black. So we're going to try to keep it blonde like this. Here's a tip that I'd be really surprised if you ever heard before. So we could stand here right now for 5 or 10 minutes stirring this up, and it would be done. Or we can do the lazy man's way. We can find an oven that happens to be 325 degrees, like the one we just put the cheesecake in, and we can just pop that in the oven, and 10 minutes later we got roux. How about that? Off it goes. I will say that we don't want to. When you pull it out, you definitely want to use a pot holder. All right, so we're going to stir up the pasta here a little bit. So I've got a lot of milk left over. All right, I'm going to use milk for 2 things now. I'm going to use it. First, we'll make the bechamel in one total mess, and so this milk's got like a day or so left on it in terms of the expiration date. And I think that but once it's cooked, then it'll last longer. So we'll have another week out of it. So we'll get a lid on that, make sure that heats up well. So and then let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do with it once it's done. So first of all, for the macaroni and cheese. So there are 2 states in the United States which are known for its cheddar cheese. One of them is Wisconsin, or as my friends say, Wisconsin. The other one is Vermont, where I'm from. And I don't want to offend anybody from Wisconsin with your beautiful orange cheese. But honestly, for me, the best cheddar cheese in the country comes from the state of Vermont. The best cheddar cheese from Vermont is from the Cabot Creamery in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont. So surprisingly enough, I can actually acquire this in my little town of Crawfordsville, Indiana. And so I've got here, and it's white. Cheddar cheese in Vermont is always white. This is a part of a brick of it that I've got. So this will be the cheese that we're going to utilize for the mac and cheese. I guarantee you this is a lot better than what you've been opening up in the box, right? Real mac and cheese is a whole lot better. So there's my cheese commercial. So what we want to do is take the cheese and grater. Get yourself a good grater if you don't have one. And then I've grated some already. Grate it up until it's not too fine of a grate, right? Or if you want to use your food processor, you can do it that way too. You don't want to build your biceps. So that should be enough cheddar cheese that we got so far there. Let's see how our milk's doing. We're gonna take the expedience of dividing the milk in half. The reason being that the milk is taking a little longer to heat up than I previously planned. But this will be okay because we have 2 items anyway. So we'll get the, always exciting. Fire is fun. Hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, gas ranges are better except for that one thing. So we're gonna get the milk and cheese potatoes heated up. I think that our noodles are about ready. It looks like they are. Strain those out. Those strain a little bit. Meanwhile, I'll tell you that when we go to make the tarragon soup, you could put cheese in it. There's other flavors you can put in it. I like to use tarragon. I said tarragon soup. The spinach soup, I like to use tarragon. So this is what fresh tarragon looks like. It's almost summer. I can grow this stuff. Or you can use dried tarragon, obviously. The rule of thumb on herbs is you use half as much of them if you use dried. You need to use twice as much if you use fresh. That may not be enough tarragon for me. We'll taste the soup afterwards, but so just pull it off with the stalks like that. It grows really easily, by the way. So I encourage everybody to plant their victory garden this year and grow some herbs. Whatever's legal. All right. So we'll get our tarragon all chopped up. This will go in actually at the very end of the project. Oh, it smells good. It smells very good. So, we'll take a look at how our milk's doing. Cooking up pretty good. So we'll go with making the macaroni and cheese first. See how our roux is doing. There you go. See how it's a little drier from being in there? This is good. This will work out good. So I've got a good hold on it with a towel because it gets to be pretty hot otherwise. All right, so soup's just about boiling, or milk's just about boiling. And we're gonna go in with the roux at this point, a little bit of it. Try a little bit at a time. Keep the heat up because it needs to be close to boiling to actually work. All right. A little more heat. Let's see how we're doing over here in this burner. This is not quite hot yet, almost. A little more roux, a little bit at a time. So you'll see, can you see hopefully how the milk is starting to thicken up? So the two things is that it'll get to be thicker, which is good, and it actually will hold its thickness. The roux actually binds it in some sense. I think I'll get some heat coming on because it's coming up. All right, a little bit more. So far, if we were to add salt and white pepper to this, you have a sauce. It's called sauce bechamel. It's a very basic French sauce. And you can do lots of things with it. You can make a Mornay sauce, which is typically put with a little bit of Parmesan cheese in it. Or you can make a cheese sauce, which is what we're going to be doing here for our mac and cheese. Look how much thicker that is. So that you need to cook it with the flour in it, with the roux in it for a few minutes, because otherwise it'll taste floury. The flour taste cooks out when you cook the roux for a while. If I just stopped right now and put the cheese in it, I'd have a floury tasting product, which would be okay, but it's not perfect. I'm going to add a little bit of milk because I've actually gone and made it thicker than I needed to. So we're going to keep it up at a good low boil for a little while to be able to accomplish that. Meanwhile, over here, our soup pot. Yeah, we got a little bit of waiting here to do. We can prepare the spinach for this while we're waiting. We'll keep that on a low heat. Spinach. So one of the things I always have in my freezer, and so I had it when the crisis occurred, is chopped frozen spinach. There's lots of things you can do with this, right? So I did grow up in Vermont where vegetables are not exactly plentiful during lots of the year. So this ends up being a pretty good, one of many things that I can use to be able to keep eating when the weather doesn't cooperate. So once again, here are my shears. Just cut it open. You could put it in there with the spinach juice if you wanted to. That would probably make it real green. But I think it's a little classier to squeeze out the spinach. So we'll probably go with 2 packages of this. I think that'll probably be plenty. And then, so what you want to do, is I'm keeping an eye on my sauce here. What you want to do is squeeze it through a colander or a sieve like this and get the juice out. All right. And when it dry, there's other things you can do with this. You can mix it with cheese. It makes a really good filling for lasagna or other kinds of pasta. All right. So pretty versatile. You could use it for making baked spinach pie, spanakopita. So it's a pretty versatile thing, really. So chopped spinach, you get your greens here in the heart of the winter, or at a time when you can't get product that you really like because everybody's got to run on it in stores. All right, so that's pretty dry. So I got a lot of water out of there, a lot of juice. All right. Now I think we probably let this sauce cook long enough. We can add some cheese. Just put a little of this white cheddar in here. It would work with the orange cheddar. I'm not, I don't want to diss that. All right, so it's getting a little thicker. I like some cheese in there. And that's going to cost me some more milk because it's getting too thick. And that's just fine by me. All right. Now we're going to season it. So I'm going to use a little bit of salt. That's hot enough, I think. A little bit of salt, a little white pepper, that's good to go.
Turn off.
All right, so then what we do is take our pasta, very simply, we add it into the sauce. Stir. So you could eat it just like this, and most people would. But if you want to have another interesting thing to do with it, you can take it and put it in an oiled baking pan. Like this. And then add some breadcrumbs. These might have been left over the other day from when we were making chicken nuggets together. Little breadcrumbs here like this. You could put some pats of butter on there if you wanted to. It's probably good like this. And we'll just take this and throw it in our oven here. And in about 20 minutes, you've got a sort of toasty casserole macaroni and cheese. So we'll go back to, hopefully you were watching when my pot boiled over here. We're going back to making the soup. Obviously that got hot. Let me talk for just a brief minute about ovens. So you notice I put several things in the oven, right? Normally that's a really bad idea if you have a regular oven because a conventional oven will make several ovens out of it. So your things on the bottom will cook harder than things on the top. But these are convection ovens. It's worth the extra price. There's a fan in them and it blows the heat around, and so you could put 8 pies in there and they will all turn out the same, right? So that's why I'm able to do that. All right, so here we are again with our milk and roux. We'll get this back up to a boil. We obviously had it to a boil before for a little while. right? Then we're gonna add some roux. This is so simple, I couldn't possibly tell you. And this we don't need to make quite as thick as the other, as the sauce, but we do want it to cook out for just a few minutes. Thicken up, there you go. Cook out for a few minutes. We'll let that cook for a little. Meanwhile, we'll get ourselves ready to serve here. So I've got the cheesecake in there, got the mac and cheese in there, we have the soup in there. So how about a little cheesecake? Oh my goodness, how did it get so brown? I can tell you why. This is not the same cheesecake we just made. I made this one earlier, but I wanted to show you what it looks like. This one's got chocolate in it. So you can melt 6 ounces of chocolate, let it cool, put that in the batter, and yours can look like this too. So there's that, and I'm gonna get a plate for that. And our strawberries now look like this. See how it's kind of syrupy? The sugar and the lemon juice brought that syrupiness out, right? So then, I know this is all going to make you hungry, but we'll cut a piece out here. The strawberries are especially good when it's chocolate one. So, chocolate on there. Little strawberries. Voila! It would look nice with a little bit of whipped cream in there too, probably. Well, maybe we got some of that. What do you know? There you go, a little rosette whipped cream. All right. So, back in the soup. Managed to cook it up again. There's the theme here. All you gotta do now is add the spinach. So we're gonna add the spinach to the soup. Give that a good stir. Heat up a little bit. Yeah. See, I like it a lot better if it's not all green. It's just basically a white soup that's got the green spinach in it, right? So we'll let that get nice and hot. Meanwhile, we'll take our tarragon, which we previously chopped up. And I know already it's not going to be enough tarragon for me, so I'm going to add some tarragon. Do it however you like. A little dried tarragon in there. And then some salt. And some white pepper. So white pepper is used. White pepper does have a different actual flavor than black pepper. That is true. But typically in the restaurant, we'll use white pepper because we have a product that if you put black in, you'd see black, specks. And so this way you can have the peppery flavor without having the little black specks if you don't want that. So I think we'll get ourselves a bowl of soup now. Ooh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. There you go. So you can just imagine that also with a little macaroni and cheese. You can take some, I like to put a little bacon in that macaroni and cheese if you like. This is a pretty vegetarian meal so far, but it's good like it is. So there you have it, what to do with extra dairy products in the time of COVID-19. I'll see you guys next time.